Hello there everybody, how are we doing? My name's Boomy and you're watching my channel Boomy Reactions. Now today guys, we have another video that I'd like to watch with you, another one from Popo Medic. So today's video is the heist and battle of North Hollywood. So following one of the last videos that I posted my reaction to, which was the deadliest shootout in FBI history, which was the shootout in Miami in 1986, I think it was. A few of you mentioned that I should watch this video as a follow-on. So here we are. Thank you for everyone who took to the comments and suggested that. Thank you, my lovelies. So yes, that's what we're going to be watching today, guys. So I know as outsiders, a lot of us watch on in quite, in shock and horror at the gun crime and, the events where things like this happen. Obviously, because not many other countries have guns. We have similar issues here in the UK. We have gang-related crime, but we have a lot of knife crime. So, I suppose, is it a similar problem, just in a different culture with, yeah, you get it. But yeah, different problem across the pond. So yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's a source of fascination. That sounds really morbid, doesn't it, guys? But it is definitely something that I think outsiders definitely look at these stories, and because we don't have any example of, gun crime and those kind of statistics and things, ours just looks different. So yeah, I think it's just one of those things where we see these stories when they pop up on the telly and on the news, and we just it's shocking. We just I don't know. Anyway, let's watch the video. And guys, if you are enjoying these reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much, my lovelies. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me Coffee account. That link is over here. Oh, on my hair. And if you would like to support my channel any further, I have a Patreon account. And if you want to check that out at all, that link is in the description, just below there. Right, okay. Ooh. So this is
Friday, February 28th,
1997?
1997.
Yes, yeah.
Two professional bank robbers overtake a North Hollywood branch in Los Angeles. Sporting a military-grade arsenal and covered nearly head to toe in body armor.
Professional bank robbers. There's a weird thing describing that as a profession, but I suppose if you're going equipped and you're, particularly very, very good at it, I suppose that becomes your profession.
As fate would have it, an LAPD officer in the right place at the right time witnessed the moment the gunman entered the bank. The police soon had the men surrounded, expecting the men to barricade inside, but instead, the two robbers swiftly exited the bank, spraying over 1,000 rounds at police. Over 44 minutes and 2,000 rounds exchanged, the streets of North Hollywood turned into a living hell.
Oh my gosh! I don't, this is a really contradictory thing to say. I don't associate Hollywood with, with gun crime or gang crime and things like that. You naturally just assume it's all, glamorous and glitzy Hollywood, but LA, right? I am aware of the crime rate in LA, so that completely contradicts me, but I think it's just because it's called Hollywood. I just imagine it's all, really glamorous, nothing goes wrong, everything's really hunky-dory. Actors everywhere.
The two gunmen behind the North Hollywood shootout first met at a Gold's Gym in Venice Beach, California.
Is this a really weird thing to say, but I did not expect the gunmen to look like this? Am I really weird for saying that? I know that's a really weird comment. I don't know what I imagined them to look like, but they're just young lads, right? The balaclavas look a lot more threatening, but I was not expecting the face underneath that mask to look so, I don't know, kind of childlike, youthful.
Larry Phillips Jr., a Los Angeles native and proficient real estate scammer, and Emil Matasareanu, a Romanian immigrant and college graduate with an above-average IQ. They were close in age and talked everything weightlifting and bodybuilding and whatever else the
banks.
fuck gym rats talk about. Chicken breasts, probably. Despite the contrast of their upbringings, the two quickly became close friends outside of the gym. They bonded over firearms, philosophical ideas. They talked about their tough childhoods and their mutual hatred for authority, as Larry Phillips Jr. grew up around an ex-convict father who struggled with the law. And
I was just going to say, this literally just a case of two fanatics or extremists just finding each other? A little bromance going on there. They finally found their long lost bestie and they bond over extreme ideals and philosophies. Kind of not nice, but kind of, I guess.
Mătăsăreanu, who grew up watching his home country of Romania violently collapse in 1989 on live TV. Their hatred for the world and the figures who ran it ran deep. In October of 1993, the two found themselves in some serious trouble when they were traffic stopped by an undercover Glendale detective while operating a stolen rental car. When the detective made contact with the vehicle, Phillips gave the officer a fake name. He then asked the men who the vehicle belonged to which Mătăsăreanu replied that the vehicle belonged to Phillips's mother. And after making checks, the detective ordered Phillips to step out of his vehicle, at which point the detective located a Glock 17 with a 33-round extended magazine in Phillips's waistband. Mătăsăreanu, still inside the vehicle, then tucked his pistol beneath the seat. Backup arrived, and both men were taken into custody. The vehicle was seized, and a laundry list of weapons and suspicious items were recovered from within, ranging from a Norinco, 1,700 rounds of 7.62, 3 Chinese-made 75-round drum magazines, 6 smoke bombs, 2 IEDs, a gas mask, wigs, 3 different California license plates, and 2 spray cans of gray hair coloring. That's right, these jokers were locked and loaded with some Just for Men. Now it's a party.
They're too young to be going grey. What? That's a really weird thing to have. Okay.
Larry Phillips was charged with conspiracy to commit robbery, grand theft auto, unlawful weapons activity, carrying a loaded and concealed firearm, and felony perjury. On December 27th, both men were only sentenced to less than 1 year in jail.
You'd think, maybe this is a naive thought, I don't know, like 2 men that have bonded over, quite extreme ideals, I imagine, firearms and whatnot. I don't know. You'd think their experiences would, I don't know, like maybe they would have been picked up on the radar of mental health professionals, or someone would have spotted or questioned their mental well-being. Popo Medic says here, they hate the world. Is that not picked up by anybody? Family members, friends? You just can't believe it gets to the point where they're literally prepared to act out, rob banks. And if they found someone else with that in common, I don't know, it just kind of feels like it would be a bit of a beacon. And maybe someone would flag it up and... Boomy Disneyland, obviously. I live in a very happy world.
On June 4th,
I was talking, when the enemy is relaxed, make them toil. When full, starve them. When settled, make them move. Oh, okay.
On June 14th, 1995, in the Los Angeles neighborhood of Winnetka, at approximately 12 p.m., Phillips and Mătăsăreanu stalked a Brinks truck. They followed the armored vehicle until it made a stop. They watched as the guard got out and made a delivery. As the guard returned and opened the back doors of the armored truck and was at his most vulnerable, Phillips and Mătăsăreanu opened fire with AK-47s. Both guards were shot, and $120,000 was stolen.
Okay, this heist, in comparison to the last video, the Miami deadliest FBI shootout in history, stark contrast. This is, they've got a lot of money from this heist, this attack, this robbery. Okay, maybe it's totally fair to say that this is their profession. They seem, I don't want to credit them as being good at doing something like this. Do you know what I mean? It just doesn't feel right. But where does this experience come from? Where does this knowledge of, have they just been observing the van? Have they been watching it, seeing what its routine is, where the stops are, who gets out and whatnot? They just seem like in the know, quite knowledgeable about these things.
The Brinks guards
Like
luckily survived, and the robbery quickly made headlines. Given the level of violence, tactics deployed, and weaponry used, the FBI took exceptional interest, who they deemed at the time the AK-47 bandits. And it wasn't long until they struck again. On March 27, 1996, in the area of Woodland Hills, Phillips and Matassarino attempted to overtake another Brinks truck, but miserably failed. They once again stalked the armored vehicle and opened fire after it stopped, but the driver took off. They chased the vehicle briefly before fleeing the scene, and once they got away, they ditched their vehicle and set it on fire. Despite the recent failure, only 2 months later, the men graduated to bank robbery. And on the morning of May 2nd, they initiated their first ever takeover heist. They kicked open the bank doors, fired warning shots into the ceiling, swept the vault, and walked out in under 6 minutes with nearly $750,000.
In 6 minutes. So again, I'm going to have to keep comparing this to the Miami shootout, because the two, they were just laughable, weren't they? It was, I know they caused an awful lot of damage and death and violence, but they did not seem to have the efficiency. Like they were not very successful, I suppose. Isn't it a weird thing talking about bank robberies in terms of success? It feels wrong. They didn't seem as efficient with their time. You know, there's a lot more fumbling around, a lot of things, a lot of mistakes were made, whereas these two, quite, you know, scarily, they seem very, very good at this. They know what they're doing. Where has the experience come from? Yes, they've taken over the vans, but how do you learn about the efficiency of these bank robberies? Like, it's not as if there were YouTube videos about things like this. Where do you gain the knowledge?
And high on success, after making it out clean, they hit their second score only 29 days later. On the morning of May 31st,
they're gonna carry on, aren't they?
Phillips and Matassarino took over a Bank of America branch in Winnetka.
How did that go?
Walking out once again with just under $800,000, accumulating a net worth of approximately $1.6 million in 30 days. And by this point, the FBI Violent Crimes Task Force and local law enforcement were rattled. The suspects were virtually uncatchable. It was evident that the two robbers had gone from violent outlaws to swift professionals in a short period of time, prompting the FBI to change the duo's name from the AK-47 Bandits to the High Incident Bandits.
They're getting better at this. The High Incident Bandits. It doesn't roll off the tongue, does it? It seems like every time they, again, what they regard as a very successful heist, it kind of fuels them and they very quickly go on to do it again. But saying that, the opposite also works. Like if they have a very unsuccessful heist, I'm talking about the Miami incident, the shootout, they seemed to strike even quicker when they had an unsuccessful. So if they came away with like not as much money as they thought they would commit another robbery, heist. They'd commit again very quickly to kind of compensate for their loss, I suppose is the word. So whereas these guys here, they're reoffending within what, like a month? Again, I have no idea what I'm talking about here, guys. So.
Next several months, a massive joint operation spanning multiple law enforcement agencies within Los Angeles County sent officers to stage, outside of banks, and other potential targets of the high-incident bandits. But the robbers at the time went on hiatus, upgrading their arsenal and mostly planning their biggest score yet.
Yeah,
Phillips and
keep getting
Matasarinu narrowed down their options to branch 384 of Bank of America, located in North Hollywood, California. It was the largest bank in the area by far and had the potential to net them at least $2 million for 10 minutes work. It was the optimal location for many reasons. Professional bank robbers tend to hit branches located on street corners for a better escape egress. Branch 384 was a single building lot, meaning not only was it a corner branch, but it had two corners of the lot, with both freeway access nearby and city side streets leading into the valley.
They've thought of everything. Again, I know this might not be the right mindset to have when learning about these events, but just in contrast to other bank robbers, these guys just seem to have really thoroughly analyzed everything.
It was the perfect stage for the perfect heist. They chose the date of Friday, February 28th, and they loaded up for war. They attached level 3A Kevlar body armor to the front and back of both their torso and extremities, basically making them pretty much invincible against the police who have 9mm. And speaking of bullets, holy shit! They loaded out with Norinkos with full auto conversions, 75-round Chinese magazine drums, a semi-auto HK91, 2 Berettas, and a fucking Bushmaster XM15 DEESIDE.
I don't know what all of these words mean. You'll have to excuse me, guys. It just goes over my head. You had me at guns. Okay, I understand that. I understand some of the names of different guns. Okay, so I'm just going to interpret this as they had some serious badass weaponry going on here, and they are, like Popo Medic said, virtually invincible because of their body armor. So they're expecting, do you think they're being overly cautious, or are they expecting some a kind of shootout? They're expecting some retaliation from security or the forces.
They then loaded several thousand rounds of spare ammunition into the trunk of their white 1987 Chevrolet Celebrity, and both men knew there was no going back. They dug their graves in their past robberies, and after getting busted once, they knew they would be facing life in prison, unspoken, but likely even fearful of one another and the idea of their counterpart cooperating with authorities in exchange for a lighter sentencing. They knew from here on out, contact with law enforcement could only end one way. And on the morning of the robbery, the men each took an unknown dosage of phenobarbital, a central nervous system depressant to basically Master Chief the shit out of their nerves. They suited up, drove to the bank, synchronized their watches, and at 9:17 a.m., Larry Phillips and Emil Mastarinu clashed through the doors of Branch 384, firing rounds into the ceiling and declaring aloud, "This is a fucking holdup."
These guys are, I would just say it's like a high, I suppose. Wow. I suppose the mentality is kind of like not quite a cornered animal, but they've got nothing left to lose. They're going all out. They're going out with a bang. This is the... Do you think they're thinking this is the big one? This is the big heist?
While on routine patrol, as fate would have it, LAPD patrol officer Martin Perello entered the bank's intersection of Archwood and Agnes when he spotted the two heavily armed gunmen entering the bank at 9:17 a.m. And just like that, the milliseconds before the heist started, it was already over.
Can I ask a really weird question? And there's probably a very, very obvious answer to this. Why do these robberies happen quite early in the morning, like, you know, rush hour, first hour of the working day? Well, again, there is probably a really glaringly obvious reason for this. But yeah, I noticed in the last video, I'm going to keep comparing them, similar kind of times. You know, they're happening at like 9:30 in the morning, 9:15 in the morning. I'm assuming the bank's open at 9. What is it about that first hour? Why would you not commit this at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon? I have no interest in, you know, potentially robbing a bank, so I've never thought these things through. Just a thought.
Question assistance. We have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America. Bank of America.
Inside the bank, the gunmen took over, while continuing to open fire into the ceiling. And after gaining everyone's compliance, Phillips and Matasarinu began shooting at the bulletproof door that gave access to the bank tellers and the vault. The door, which was only made to withstand small caliber ammunition, broke open after a few shots from their modified Norinkos. The men then forced the tellers to fill their bags with the money from the vault. As they held the door, watching over their shoulders, they realized there was a big problem. There was way less money in the vault than they had anticipated. The adrenaline partnered with the intense stress led the two men to unravel, and bursts of gunfire continued solely out of rage. Matasarinu became so enraged that he emptied a 75-round drum magazine into the vault, destroying the rest of the money.
I mean, guys, you've already accumulated, like, what was it, $1.6 million? Getting kind of greedy. You know, I know there's not as much money as you thought there would be in that vault, but we don't have to throw a tantrum and spit our dummy out, do we?
In total, the tellers only packed $303,000.
Okay.
Meanwhile, outside
Still
of the bank, LAPD officers Perello and Farrell entered the perimeter of a parking lot across the street and are soon joined by multiple officers rushing in to the area. An anxious Larry Phillips noticed the silence outside of the bank. There was no longer any foot traffic outside, or even a single car on the usually busy roadway. He walked halfway out of the bank and heard nothing but the freeway noise coming from a half a mile away. And in that moment, he realized the police were waiting. At which point both men could hear sirens of the cavalry of the LAPD responding, as well as the sound of exploding dye packs in the money bags, rendering the bills completely useless.
I would have thought at this point, this is going to be like, I know they've already got pretty angry inside the bank at the tellers, but I think this is going to be like waving a red rag in front of a bull. This is going to be, you know, this is going to top it off. They're going to just be in an absolute rage.
The officers outside were coordinating what they thought would be a barricade situation until Larry Phillips stormed out of the North ATM lobby entrance, spraying rounds at officers with his Norinko, immediately injuring 7 officers and 3 civilians from 200 feet away. They returned fire at the robbers, but their 9mm had little effect on the heavily armed gunmen. LAPD officer James Zaborvan, only a few months out of the academy, gets a shot off on Phillips, wounding him. The gunman turns his attention to Zaborvan, who dives across his fellow officers, blocking the shot. He then seeks cover into a nearby dental office, where a dentist by the name of Jorge Montez quickly turns his dental office into a makeshift emergency room. And at this time, the elite members of the prestigious LAPD SWAT team arrived on scene. Many of the members, at the time, were even founding fathers of the LAPD's first ever SWAT team, who had a fierce reputation and a highly successful rate of solving the problems within high-risk incidents.
Wow. Oh, who's that quote from? Oh, there we go. From an LAPD SWAT officer called Rick Massa. No matter what the odds are, you fight through it. That's how many people got hurt.
Phillips retrieves the HK-91 and begins sniping news helicopters with 308, hitting a KCAL-9 chopper's rear stabilizer, until a group of officers who raided a nearby gun store to obtain higher caliber weapons returned and landed a shot on the HK-91, disabling it. Phillips picked back up his Norinko until his weapon stovepiped. Not knowing how to clear the malfunction, he pulled out his Beretta and continued firing at police. And suddenly, realizing it was the end, Larry Phillips took his own Beretta and ended his life.
Oh my gosh! I did not think that was gonna end as quickly as it did. Oh, okay. In this situation, you know, I think, you know, what the pair of them have done is disgusting anyway. But, you know, even more cowardly here. I suppose you could say if he carried on, maybe he would have injured or potentially killed police officers. So, still, okay.
Matasarinu tried to escape by hijacking a civilian's truck, but failed. The SWAT team saw this and took advantage of Matasarenu's exposed position and moved in to engage him while taking cover behind a patrol vehicle. The SWAT team opened fire, but they couldn't find an angle on Matasarenu, taking cover behind the engine block of his vehicle. LAPD SWAT officer Rick Massa decided to prone out and found the exposed feet of Matasarenu, got a good sight picture, and opened fire, hitting Matasarenu twice in the ankle. Matasarenu collapsed and began skipping rounds towards the SWAT team from beneath the vehicle while laying on his back. And with Matasarenu's body now exposed and still skipping rounds towards SWAT officers, the SWAT team opened fire. And after being shot 29 times, Matasarenu surrenders to police. As they secure Matasarenu's weapon and place him in handcuffs to search for additional weapons, Officer Rick Massa stands over him. Matasarenu looks up at Massa and asks him to finish him off, to which Officer Massa declines and says, "I'll see you in court."
Yeah, no. There's no easy way out. Your partner might have taken the easy way out, but you're going to be answerable to the courts for this. Okay. Shot 29 times, and that's what it takes to make him surrender. You'd think his partner, you know, ending it all quite prematurely in this. You'd think at that point you'd be thinking it's over. No. Oh my gosh, okay.
Matasarenu succumbed to his wounds and died 56 minutes later. As the deadly shootout came to an end, the SWAT team entered the Bank of America to rescue the employees and customers from the vault. After the incident occurred, the LAPD realized the importance of firepower after realizing their 9mm fucking sucked. And they received 600 M16s from the Pentagon, officially birthing the requirement of patrol rifles.
Okay. I mean, that must have sounded pretty weird too. I'm not saying, oh no, this poor felon has passed away. I'm saying, oh no, this poor felon has died before he had to appear in front of a judge. And that is a shame. He should have had to answer.
1 year after the incident occurred, 19 LAPD officers received medals of valor and were even commended by then President Bill Clinton. Despite the injuries, the shootout is regarded as a success for police, who were severely outgunned and managed to prevent any civilian or officer fatalities.
Oh, that's amazing. That was going to be one of my questions. So there was no fatalities other than the idiots here that committed the burglaries. Outstanding result.
Pop culture and lore of the North Hollywood shootout runs deep. From a Megadeth song to a made-for-TV movie, countless documentaries to an op-ed in Rolling Stone magazine. It's estimated that Phillips and Matasarenu fired close to 1,200 rounds, with the LAPD returning close to 650 rounds. The North Hollywood shootout will always be regarded as one of the most dangerous confrontations between robbers and police that America has ever seen. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more of these videos in the works. And I'm also excited to announce my podcast, The Aftermath Podcast, where we'll be breaking down episodes over a longer format. So be sure to subscribe over there as well. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching and putting up with my sick voice. All right, goodbye.
I think Popo Medic has a sick voice. I like listening to him. Show him some love, guys. Go like and subscribe if you haven't already. Awesome videos. Very, very thoroughly researched. Very, very interesting as well. That's an interesting statistic, isn't it? So between the two of them, they fired over 1,200 rounds, and then the forces, the authorities, police. Was it the SWAT team themselves, or was it like a combined 650? Obviously, the 650 were just far more accurate. I mean, I'd say excellent result. No fatalities. You know, no one else, no bystanders were hurt. I think there were a few injuries, wasn't there? There was a few police officers that were maybe injured, but no fatalities. So that's amazing. Dare I ask, was anyone watching this video right now? Were any of you in the area? Do you remember this being on TV? Are there any details here that I'm missing out? Maybe. So thank you so much, guys. There's been a few of you that requested that I watch this particular event. So thank you very much for requesting that in the comments there, guys. Very, very interesting. Are there any other shootouts that you think that I should have a watch? We don't have anything like that happens in the UK. So while I'm not saying it's a point of interest, because that does sound really morbid, doesn't it? But it's eye-opening. It's very, very shocking for us. Like I say, that we have our own crimes over here. They tend to be more knife related or gang related. So, you know, the statistics are still there, but the gun crime is quite exclusive to you guys in the US. Very, very interesting though. So thank you again for requesting this video. Guys, I hope you enjoyed watching along with me. That story sounded a lot more positive in the way that the only fatalities are the two idiots here, which, you know, very fortunately. So I hope you enjoyed watching along with me, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.